there. It's the Machine of Nonsense, episode 66. Only 600 more to the episode of The Beast. I'm your host, Eric, joined as always by Kayla.
Hey, guys.
And folks, get your hands up. We've got a guest. It's Patrick Pena.
Welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
If you guys did not listen to episode 23 of The Machine of Nonsense, Patrick has been with us one time before. The episode is titled Premium Jeffrey Rush, and if you haven't listened, go ahead and listen, and you'll get the title. We had a lot of fun, and back then we were discussing some of Patrick's previous work. Today, he's back on the pod to discuss a new project called Microdosing and everything that's happened in the last year, because it's been almost a year since we've had Patrick on the pod. So we'll get into all of that, but what you been up to, Pat?
Work on a few things, so spend a little time doing some animation and kind of improving my After Effects work, struggling with my normal work, the work that we do not describe, that half of the life that doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, kind of making strides forward mentally, also an important thing that I'm trying to work on. So, and then mostly kind of, I suddenly in December I had the idea for microdosing. So the last 3 months especially have been kind of dedicated to that.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll get into some details on that and, your Indiegogo campaign and everything around that. Before that, like I said, Pat came on to episode 23 of The Machine of Nonsense, and when we have guests, we ask them what their top 5 movies, TV shows, and games are. We took Pat's pulse on that. Kayla, what were those top 5s?
So back in 2021, because we all know things changed and lots of good stuff came out this year, maybe. But at that time, Pat, for TV shows, we had Seinfeld, Black Mirror, Cowboy Bebop. At that time, it was the animated, right?
Of course.
Simpsons, specifically seasons 3 through 8, and Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
For video games, we had Tetris Effect for the PlayStation 4, Super Mario World, Fighter Pro Wrestling World, Mario Kart Double Dash, River City Ransom. Yep. And for films, we had Jackie Brown, Dr. Strangelove, which was already mentioned, The Breakfast Club, No Country for Old Men, and Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
How's that list sit with you?
That's pretty good. That sounds pretty goddamn good. Yeah, no, I like that. I'll replace, TV shows. Veep is better than Silicon Valley. So we could say Silicon Valley, which is fantastic, brilliant show. Get the hell out of here. And then Veep is just like one of the funniest shows, like nonstop.
That's Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
Tongue twister for me.
She is. Oh man, she is hilarious. Yeah,
that whole 2 shows with her on it.
Hey, she's the best. I love her. What are you gonna do? And the second half of that series was led by David Mandel, who was like one of the lead writers on the last couple seasons of Seinfeld. He has he's very funny. He also hosted a video game review show that was kind of like not really a real video game review show called Dave and Steve's Video Game Explosion. And he wrote for the Clerks cartoon, but that's not.
Oh, nice.
He's a funny guy.
Kayla's been watching Seinfeld, actually, now that it's come to Netflix for the first time.
You're one of those.
She's getting in deep now.
I'm born in 91. What can I say?
It's all right. Welcome aboard. No, I don't. I'm not. Anybody who's watching it now for Netflix, I welcome it because, Seinfeld's great show all the time. So.
It's also, when I'm watching shows, I really like to just kind of, especially like on my days off, it's a perfect show to just like have on and fold clothes and just take a nap and then turn it back on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's great. They're quick, they're fast.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoy Elaine.
Elaine, okay. So is she your favorite of the four?
Yes, she is.
Yeah, she's
She is.
she's fucking great. She is hilarious. They're all great.
George sucks.
George is like the best character of all time, but yes, like if he was a real person, he's like the absolute fucking worst.
I hate him.
That's why he's he's the best. He's great. I hate him too.
I think Kayla's still a little salty that George beat Leslie Knope in our bracket of nonsense finale.
Well, I mean, hey, dude, again, the numbers don't lie.
That's George. He manipulated somewhere.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he's a complex man.
Weasel.
I think here's the thing. I think he's the perfect representation of male insecurity. That's exactly what he is, and it's funny. It's a very funny character.
I dig it. So, okay, so we've recapped your top fives. You said that Veep has kind of, jumped on in terms of a TV show. Has there been anything else in the last year that you've checked out that really stands out, maybe is a contender for any of these top five lists? It was an interesting year last year. We got a little bit more, because it's been about a year since we've talked to you.
Yeah.
And we remarked at that time about how odd, especially a movie year it was, with the pandemic and everything.
Delays.
And everything faced those delays. Video games, TV, it all did. And we're starting to kind of get more of a deluge now. Things are improving. We're getting more stuff. Anything stand out recently?
Not that much. I mean, obviously everybody enjoyed Spider-Man: No Way Home. That's kind of a populist answer, and I loved it. But the only two movies that really kind of stood out to me last year were The Green Knight, which is probably my favorite movie last year. Oh man, I love that movie. And Last Night in Soho, also a fantastic movie. And those two are more or less my standouts films of the year. I don't watch that many TV shows really. I watched Peacemaker again, kind of more of a popular answer, which again I also loved. I love James Gunn, but I'm watching The After Party on Apple TV Plus, which is very enjoyable. Christopher Lord, one of the guys who did the Lego Movie and the 21 Jump Street movies. It's a murder mystery show with Sam Richardson, and it's funny. It's really good.
It looks great. Yeah, we recently got Apple TV, and I've been watching Servant lately. So.
Oh yeah. I have not seen that. That's the M. Night Shyamalan show.
Yeah, it's executive produced by Shyamalan. It's got his. Unfortunately, it's got his, in my opinion, really terrible dialogue.
Okay, no, he is. He's a great storyteller. Dialogue, not a strong suit for that guy.
Yeah, it's got but the aesthetics are all there. It's creepy. It's off-putting. It's really cool.
Weird.
It's weird. Yeah, super interesting concept. But the dialogue could get a little Shyamalanian.
Nice, interesting.
It is what it is.
What are you gonna do?
So, yeah, I mean, we're getting a lot. I think this year is going to be a great year for us here at the Machine and Nonsense, just absorbing all that. You mentioned Last Night in Soho. Unfortunately, we have yet to check that one out. Are you an Edgar Wright guy?
I am. I'm wearing a Scott Pilgrim shirt at the moment. Yes, Edgar Wright is... I think a criminally underappreciated filmmaker. I think that he's in the conversation for the greatest working filmmaker. The greatest filmmaker of the 21st century, who kind of came onto the scene in this century. He is one of the absolute fucking best, and he'll get recognized eventually. But he's incredible.
Well, he's been recognized as one of the patron saints of the Machine and Nonsense. We did an episode recently where we tried to kind of build a Mount Rushmore of creators, characters, actors, etc. That really mean a lot to the cast, and Edgar Wright was right up there. So,
fantastic! Yeah, he is. He's the fucking man. Now, is everybody else, because I hold the entire Cornetto trilogy to be equal across the board. I know that most people generally make their list Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, World's End, and if you put World's End at the end, you can go to hell. And now it's everybody. I realize it's everybody, and everybody can go to hell, but it is what it is. Like, go watch that movie. Maybe in 10 years, watch that movie and see if you feel the same way. You know what I mean? Because it's different, right? Shaun of the Dead is the character's a lot more immature, and then in World's End, only Gary's immature, and it's good. It's so I think they're all equal. I hold them all in the same esteem.
I think in terms of the entire pod, I think you're right when you said like Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, World's End, like just like that is the general pulse for my own. Like I'm a Shaun of the Dead guy.
Oh, sure, me too.
When I saw that movie the first time, I was just like, oh shit, this is me. This is for me. And I liked Hot Fuzz. I think I haven't watched it. I've maybe seen it twice. And
okay.
I've seen Shaun of the Dead half a dozen times or more, you know, and even just probably caught, you know, half of it a dozen times. But and then I think that's why it holds such a high esteem for myself. But I think generally everyone else in the pod though is Hot Fuzz. I know Aaron.
Aaron's the driving force. That's his favorite movie ever.
Yeah,
I think for a lot of people,
number one. Yeah,
most people that was the first one they saw. And I think for you, since you saw Shaun of the Dead first, you'll have because I was the same way. I saw Shaun of the Dead in theaters, and like 2 people bought it for me for my birthday that year when it came out because everybody knew that I loved that fucking movie. And Hot Fuzz I really like a lot. Again, they're different. They're different films, but they're all the same in a lot of ways. And they even have callbacks to each other, obviously, and all these kind of fun things. So, oh, they're fantastic. Yes, Baby Driver. Baby Driver is a great movie, but is my least favorite Edgar Wright film. Last Night in Soho is very good, and Last Night in Soho and Edgar Wright. This is great. I think that he owes a lot, and he'd probably tell you the same thing. Owes a lot to Satoshi Kon. I would say Last Night in Soho specifically has a lot of Satoshi Kon influence. Whether that's been stated anywhere or not, I don't know. But we'll get into that.
Put it down on the record. Machine of Nonsense. It'll be out there.
Yeah, we are the first. So we also recently had an Oscar noms conversation on this pod, and I wanted to pick your brain. How much do you stake do you put into the Oscars? You still, I think the last time we talked, you were gonna miss the show, but your wife was gonna like live tweet it to you.
Yep, and that did happen.
Yeah.
It actually ended up being on TV at work. Normally that would not be on TV at work, but they left it on that channel, so I was half watching it, and she was, sending me
nice. What did you think? That was a real interesting Oscars that year, and we're kind of poised for another one this year. What do you think? Just the general state of the Oscars, the nominations this year. How closely do you follow it? How closely do you really care?
I didn't follow that close because I did think that it was somewhat of a weak year for film, again, because of the delays and just the way they've kind of set things up. I haven't, but I'm aware of the nominees and these kind of things, but I'd say with half the movies I haven't seen and I haven't like made the effort to see a couple of them yet. I will. But I think that what they're attempting to do, trying to reach a mass audience again, if the Oscars are supposed to be people within the film industry, the artists rating each other on what the best accomplishments within the industry are, then I don't understand why you're trying to reach a mass audience who doesn't watch films in that way or appreciate film in that way. So by trying to eliminate things like, oh, we'll pre-record the fucking best original score and the editor's Oscars and we'll air those later at our fucking leisure because they don't matter, which, that's a joke. You're supposed to be celebrating film. It's like either the People's Choice Awards or the Oscars. So like the Oscars just have to accept, and all these celebrities who are, self-aggrandizing, that's what we're here for to begin with, they'll have to accept that, it's like the SAG Awards on TNT. That's what the Oscars should be. You could still wear all this fucking nice clothes, do all this shit, but like it's a small... It should be smaller because the audience who really would appreciate it if it was what it's supposed to be, it's a smaller audience. And maybe you can build a bigger audience of people who appreciate film, but if we keep talking about how film's dying, cinema's dying, this kind of shit, then accept it's going to be a niche market and then like zero in on that instead of alienating the people who do like film and to fucking bring in people who would have wanted Black Panther or Spider-Man No Way Home to win Best Picture.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yes.
As
And in the
far as,
middle
like,
of the ground
Spider-Man.
there, yeah, or Bohemian Rhapsody, the fucking Green Book. Like, okay, his Green Book had 2 really good actors in it, but it was like a fucking made-for-TV race relations movie from like the early 90s. So, the fuck? Directed by the guy who did Dumb and Dumber. Is this what we're trying to do? Like, this is, I don't understand. But the Oscars have always been that way, though. You could look back, like, Stanley Kubrick's movies never won a fucking Oscar, and that's a joke. They were the best movie made that year. Every year they fucking came out, guaranteed. And the test of time will show that. But, you know, Do the Right Thing wasn't nominated for Best Fucking Picture. Driving Miss Daisy won that year. If, you know, take that statement out of context and look that up and just consider all the things going on now and then, yeah, they're kind of a fucking joke. But, you know, do you still put stake in them when something you like and appreciate wins? As like, is that validation that suddenly that's good? Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
It does.
Yes.
It's called balance.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm aware of that, of my hypocrisy.
There's just been such a conversation around, like, yeah, Spider-Man was by far the most successful movie this year, or the last year, if you want to say, and it's almost single-handedly holding up the, you know, theater-going audience at this point, and you know, not really nominated for anything of note. Is that an overall positive, negative, or just like doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things?
So, you know, I'm a pretty particular guy, and like the reasons that I like feel ways about things are sometimes like wholly my own, and so I have a very particular opinion on this as well. So, as far as like these kind of movies, like Spider-Man No Way Home, can I go like full on spoiler when I'm talking about it at this point? It's been out like 8 weeks.
Hey, folks, we're going into spoiler territory. Go.
And it's not going to describe the movie, but like just in case I bring up certain things, like Spider-Man No Way Home was a very, very, very good movie. I loved it. Like I fucking loved it. There's 2 really like it hit emotional beats on a level that like these kind of movies rarely do, but at the same time, it made me feel like a kid in a way. These like seeing 3 Spider-Man swinging, it was just like, I don't know. I didn't think that I would have like a fucking visceral reaction the way that I did, but I did. And but here's the thing. Like there's two discussions here. Best Picture is for the producer. Best Picture means this is the best produced movie of the year. So think about that a little bit. And then when you think about a movie, I think of them as singular pieces of art, right? Like the Marvel movies kind of more feel like a TV show. But I think in the same way that Return of the King won all the Oscars because of the feat of creating the trilogy Lord of the Rings, I think that Endgame should have won Best Picture for Kevin Feige for doing a 23 movie series or whatever, kind of like the biggest feat in film production history as a producer. I'll give him that. I think that that's worthy of praise for like, Jesus Christ, putting that together was pretty fucking tough. So, but No Way Home, in the same way that Logan, all of our emotional resonance is not necessarily built in this film. It's built from previous films. So then in that sense, it's like, as an individual standalone piece of art, does No Way Home work? Well, I don't know. I mean, there's still good stuff in it that's built within the film, but all of it is based on 7 films prior, just like Logan is based on like 9 films prior. So all of your attachment is not from a single piece of art that those filmmakers built within that time frame and did on their own, like a movie that somebody had to make from their own fucking head or from a book adaptation did. This has built-in nostalgia, emotional attachment, and that other people already did the fucking work on. Meme references, fan service, things like that, which sometimes are fucking annoying, but in No Way Home, I'm laughing at the fucking memes. I'm like, oh, my back. I'm like, everything is great. It's fucking just hitting. It's like they nailed it, right? But, you know, what is that? Like, is that art? Yeah, I guess it is, right? I mean, I don't know. So everything's a fucking opinion. It's subjective. You can sit here, you can write a video essay and argue why anything's fucking great. Doesn't make it right. You could argue it, though.
I dig it. That's a super nuanced answer, you know, to
it has to be
what could have been like, I don't know. Yeah, it was a great movie. Let's That should be best picture. You know, I dig it.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the thought. It seems like maybe not the first time you've thought of that.
No, not even a little bit, right? Like if I intend to be in the film industry, that's mostly if people think about sports, right? You think about the nuance and how you fucking put a team together, whatever the fuck those people think about. I don't know how that works. I'm not a sportsman, but it's the same kind of thing. Yeah, there has to be nuance. I appreciate that you said that because so many people see things in black and white, and more like 1,000 shades of gray or whatever.
Yeah, we're here for those trips down Patrick's thought lane.
Good. Well, I got him.
Dig it. Well, let's take a detour down Patrick Thought Lane and talk about Porker and Roundy, which we loved here at the Machine of Nonsense. We every time one of those came out, we were quick to share it, quick to check it out. Where did that come from? How did that bloom?
Porker and Roundy, the character names So I have a friend, I won't say his name, but I had a friend when I was in elementary school, lived a block over, a year younger than me. Like a perfectly round fucking head, right? Like, it is what it is. He's got a fucking circle head, right? And so my older brother, kind of a jerk. Not so much anymore, but as a kid, kind of a typical older brother, right?
Sure.
So he makes fun of me for being fat, and he makes fun of my friend for his round ass head, and he calls us Porker and Roundy. And I'm like, all right, well, so then I don't know if this is supposed to be like some kind of defense mechanism to reverse it or whatever, but so I'm like 8. So like I create a pig character and a basketball character. That's Porker and Roundy. He's got the fucking basketball head. It's like they're just cartoon characters based on those names. And then, like, what do you do with these? Because at that time, you recall, I was drawing the men and things like this is like the exact same era, right? And as you saw with those characters, this is something that nobody's going to understand. This is like a conversation between me and you, but like those change throughout the years and turn into something else. Because like I don't generally let an idea die unless it's like worthless. But if an idea is there, I'm like, it can still be something. I'll just update it to be something new, right? So then over the years, Porker and Roundy was always like something I go back to, and it's like, all right, who are these guys? Then like when I'm like 13, 14, they start working at the donut shop and all these kind of things. They become these characters. Then when I'm like 18, I attempt to do a cartoon pilot that would have been the Porker and Roundy show, and I drew most of it and I animated some things, and then I got a job and my life sucked, and that was that. But so I came back. Yes, exactly. Being an adult, which blows. Well, no, it does. That's bullshit. I hate to say that because it's not true.
Pros and cons.
Yeah, you still, if I could sit at home eating pizza, watching whatever I want, smoking weed, it's like, wait a minute. When I was 15, isn't that what I wanted? It's like, sure, you got like bills and responsibilities, this kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, nobody's telling you what to do, and you're, so being an adult's all right. But so then last year, I was working on After Effects and things like that, and it's like, well, I could fucking animate in here, and I decided, I'm just gonna because I couldn't get a movie going, so I'm just gonna start doing a cartoon. I could do the voices and do these things, and.
Okay, I don't know how deep you want to get into the production aspect of Porker and Roundy, but I mean, I'm amazed. I don't know anything. I cannot draw for, to save my life. And you got a certain artistic style going on with that, but how does that go from, all right, so you're writing, well, how does that go? How do you build an episode of Porker and Roundy?
Sure, yeah. And as far as my animation style, so like over the years, you draw like a little kid, right? I still draw like a kid, but you could say I refined my style, a little bit of South Park, a little bit of Clerks cartoon, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, figuring out like, what's the easiest way, a little bit of fucking Steve from Blue's Clues. What is the easiest way to draw the thing that I'm trying to draw? Look up cartoon draw, like nowadays, look up on Google, how do you draw a cartoon this? Look at a million different designs, like which one can I do? Because I can't draw perspective or lighting or anything like that. I can only draw flat things. But if I can draw the basic shapes to create the thing I want to make, Good enough. So if you want to draw, try that.
Shout out to Blue's Clues.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know,
Whenever I try to draw, it just all becomes hentai. It's weird. I don't know.
Hey, you know what? There's a market for that too, though. So let's just keep that in mind. They're loyal. So I draw the things by hand still. It's not digitally drawn. I draw them with colored pencil on a piece of paper. And you break it down into like animation cells. You know the basic idea of what an animation cell is and how like Hanna-Barbera did limited animation and things like that?
Sure.
So basically you have static images and then they would then animate individually the things they want to move. Like they would draw different frames for the arm to move, but the body would be the same and the face would be the same, but they'd animate the mouth to move. So now you can just draw all the pieces independently and put pins on them and kind of move them around, drag them around like that in After Effects. And this is how they animate the early Adult Swim cartoons, the William Street cartoons like Octane Hunger Force and Sea Lab and Space Ghost and things like that. So you're basically moving layers around. So what I'll do is I'll draw Porker, like draw his head, and his nose will be separate, his eyes will be separate, his ears will be separate, his arms will be separate, as all these little pieces that are individually floating on the piece of paper. And then you take a picture of it with your I would take a picture with my cell phone. So the lighting would be uneven and stuff. It gives kind of a handmade quality to it. Airdrop them to my fucking computer, put them in Photoshop, delete the fucking white from the background, separate the pieces, rebuild them into different layers, import them into After Effects, and now you have these different layers that if you change the anchor points, so that's like where the pivot of the individual piece will be or where the like program thinks the center of it is, however you want to use it, and then you move the pieces around with keyframes and that's that. And yeah, it's labor intensive in a way. There's a little bit of tedium to it, but like each step of the process is kind of satisfying because you can kind of, it's like a little factory and it's like, you kind of fucking see it moving along. So like these kind of things used to take, and not that this shit is like well animated, you know, it's very, very, very basic and simple, but even so, to create an animated show, it used to take a team of people 9 months. You got to send it overseas to Korea and fucking hopefully it comes back drawn the right way. Like in the early Simpsons, you'd see a couple frames of like somebody's hair being the wrong color and shit. They can't send it back and get that reanimated. It is what it is. They're fucked up. I mean, it happened in Scooby-Doo all the time. Their shirts are the wrong color. It's like, what are you going to do? So now you can do this in your house, not in 9 months. You can do it faster. If I had a team of like 3 or 4 people, you can create, you know, the same level of animation in a much cheaper, faster way than was ever possible. So it's fun. It's fun to do.
I was going to ask in terms of like time frame and all that, what were you looking at creating an episode?
So I was working 12-hour shifts at that time, and I still am at the job, and I was doing these. This is kind of why I stopped. So I'd come home, and this is kind of like my therapy or whatever. This is my hobby. This is the thing that I'm doing. They'd be coming out weekly. I'd be doing them that week, almost South Park style. All of these are 30 seconds and not 30 minutes. So yeah, I would say in total for making a little 30-second or 1 minute episode, it would take me a week, maybe 2 to 3 hours a day. So I don't know, 10, 15 hours on one of these things total from sitting down with the fucking piece of paper to uploading it to YouTube. That's with all of my editing and the voice acting and stuff. So I would write them, you know, a scratch out a piece of paper if I'd have it, because they're single joke episodes, right? Just come up with this stupid little exchange between these fucking idiots, and then I jot it on a piece of paper, like I do like at work a lot. I'll take a piece of computer paper, write it in half, and just fucking write notes on it all day, and like, you shouldn't see how shit looks in here. Index cards and all this kind of stuff. This is how I've always been, just like stacks of paper, like a fucking madman. So I'll have the joke, and I got my mic booth set up here, and yeah, and then I just fuck around and do the voices in a take or two, and then you cut them together. I used to use things like Audacity, which is free, but now I use other, you know, Audition, which is an Adobe program, and put it together, normalize the blah blah blah, and all, yeah. And yeah, well, I had to get the Creative Suite. That was the thing. It's like, well, Creative Suite is very expensive, and it sucks that it's subscription. You can't buy it anymore, and these kind of things, but. Well, I need to have the things to try to do the things that I want to do. So
hobbies cost money, even if it's something that you just enjoy doing every night. It's worth it.
Yeah, and there are free ways to do these things, right? There's your DaVinci Resolve, and there's again Audacity. So like people can still do these things in an accessible way, and I did for a long time. And then it's like, fuck,
Right,
now I have
exactly.
now I have to invest money if I really want to move forward. So here we are.
Growth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it feels better
Man.
than not doing these things.
So that all that
Great.
process for a 30-second episode, I'm no longer going to complain about producing a podcast. No, I just can't.
No, it's worth the work. I mean, it is. No, but no, you can still complain. It's just, you realize that's it's part of the thing. It's still annoying. It's still tedious. I didn't want to keep doing it. That was the other thing, because if you wanted to, there's like Simon's Cat and there's Cyanide and Happiness, and there's these people who have successful cartoon characters or comics via the internet. It's a full-time job, though. It's a full commitment. It's going to take you a year, maybe 2 years before you have the following that's going to earn you money. Otherwise, it's the fucking grind.
It's the grind.
And could I do that for Pork and Roundy? Yeah, maybe. But like, I don't want to be the fucking Pork and Roundy guy. Not right now. Maybe when I'm 40, if nothing else is working out, then like, all right, that's it. That's my hobby. That's going to be my little side gig, and maybe it'll take off after a while. Otherwise, I would just enjoy doing it. But right now, I still want to be a fucking filmmaker. I was like, all right, I can't. And also, this is weird, but like, I didn't have that much support from like people that I know. And it's like, if there was like a slightly larger, you're not going to build an audience right away, but fuck, at least if your friends are like, oh, I love that shit. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, it makes you want to do it a little bit more. So I appreciate you guys sharing and things like that. But at the same time, it's like, fuck, I really want to make movies. This was super fun, which is why I'm actually integrating them into the movie, and it's like, oh, they ain't going anywhere. I'm still working. I still love Pork and Roundy.
Ooh, I like it.
And I might do a pilot episode, like a full 15-minute pilot later in the year, like of an actual episode of Pork and Roundy as like a proof of concept. You can kind of pitch to places to try to get a series made. I'm considering that as well.
Well, you mentioned that they might be integrated elsewhere, so that takes us, I think, to our microdosing conversation. It's an independent horror film, everyone. We're not just doing drugs here, guys, yet. So give me what is microdosing? Just give me the 10,000 million mile view of it.
Microdosing is, a story about a guy who starts microdosing mushrooms like people. So if nobody doesn't know this, basically microdosing would be taking very, very small doses of psilocybin, quote, magic mushrooms, or LSD, or some kind of psychedelic that you take very small doses daily, which will not make you hallucinate, but is supposed to enhance your mood. And a lot of people over on the West Coast, Silicon Valley, these fucking tech bros and things like that have been doing it for the last few years.
Mario's
been doing it for fucking like 40 years. He's very successful, most successful man in all video games. There's something there, right? But now you're seeing it's becoming very, very mainstream, and like you're starting to hear this all the time. You're seeing articles about it. It's like, fuck, get this story out there, right? So he starts to microdose mushrooms, thinking like, all right, it's going to help me be more productive, help with my anxiety and this kind of shit. But he's not taking psilocybin mushrooms. He's taking these alien fungus that like his brother got from some guy, and it does not have the same effect that you would want.
Dig it. So you said, it's been in the news. It's become a popular pastime. Is that kind of where the idea came from, or was there anything specific that really just like, blew it up?
No, that's it. Like, it's something that I was thinking about personally. Like, psychedelics have always been interesting to me, but I'm always kind of afraid to try them. Like, weed is a drug that I will do, but everything else is like, I don't want to fuck with drugs. Yeah. But mushrooms have always been kind of an interest of mine. So it's just from like reading about them and seeing that kind of coming up. And then where this really came, so just like Pork and Roundy was, all right, can't get people together to make a fucking movie. I'll just make a cartoon 100% by myself. So I started thinking, all right, I want to make a fucking movie 100% by myself. And I had a few ideas. I want to do something with puppets. But when I was first thinking puppets, I was thinking like Muppet-style puppets. And I was like, all right, that's really limiting my fucking ideas because nobody wants to watch puppet movies. I love puppets, but that's a niche market. So it's like, okay, well, like, Stan Winston and these guys, they make puppets too, animatronics, these kind of things. Those are still puppets. So I was like, all right, well, let's go back to the horror idea. And some of these other ideas, there's a video game, Pepperoni Nightmares, that I was working on that we've mostly since abandoned, but like some of the ideas from that are also present in this movie. So some of the themes and things are just some ideas I've had the last few years that I'm working into the idea. Like, all right, I want to make a movie by myself. What do I have at my disposal? What can I do? Do a lot of After Effects stuff. What kind of dialogue do I want to have? What do I want to talk about? Oh, fuck, here, boom, boom, boom. Just sometimes these dominoes just fucking fall into place, and like without planning it, I'll make a movie with these elements in it or whatever.
Awesome. So you've listed a number of influences on your Indiegogo campaign, and one stood out to me because I was not aware of Satoshi Kon. You mentioned also earlier in the pod as one of your major influences on you, on other directors. Who's Satoshi?
Satoshi Kon, he's since passed away really young, in his 30s actually. He was a anime film director from the 90s and early 2000s. So he most notably hit on the scene with Perfect Blue, which is a unbelievable film that I highly recommend. Paprika was then an even bigger success for him. And I think most people who kind of our era, maybe some Adult Swim anime fans, would know a Paranoia Agent was the TV series he had with Little Slugger. And so what he was most notable for is his kind of blending of reality and fantasy. And I more or less, I heard of Paprika when it came out. It was kind of a known, one of those rare anime that like gets mainstream success here that's not like a Miyazaki movie or whatever. And let me also say that I'm not like this big, massive anime fan or anything. I watch anime just like I watch anything else, and there are things that I really enjoy, and Satoshi Kon's one of them. And then I got even further into Satoshi Kon because I'm a Darren Aronofsky fan, and Darren Aronofsky is a huge Satoshi Kon fan. He bought the U.S. rights to Perfect Blue because there's a shot in it that he wanted to rip off, but he didn't want to like get in trouble for it, and he used it for Requiem for a Dream. Perfect Blue also, if you guys have seen Black Swan or if you're a fan of Black Swan, it owes a lot to Perfect Blue. It's very, very similar. A lot of the imagery is a lot the same, and it's Satoshi Kon was doing things with animation, like he was doing very cinematic animated films, but yet within them he was doing things that could only be done in animation, especially at the time in like the mid 90s, early 2000s. Computers and compositing stuff wasn't quite where it is. Have you guys seen Mother, the Aronofsky movie with Jennifer Lawrence?
I have. I don't think you checked that one out, Kayla, right? Yeah. No, I super dug that movie. I know that's
I
like
love that movie.
Okay.
Yeah, some people hate that. I love that movie. So near the end there, when things start going legitimately insane, and it's like you're literally going through, you feel like you're traveling the world and through eras all in like a single shot and within a single scene, and it's just like this overload of things. Like that's kind of, I don't want to say like that's what Satoshi Kon movies are like, but the way he transitions and the way he moves seamlessly between things was kind of like nobody had ever really done that before. And also just like to make an animated film that you really get lost in and forget that it's animation and just feels like a film. I'm not saying that no other animators do that. They do. I love animation, but Satoshi Kon, I don't know, his movies there's something else. And then he also did one kind of normal movie called Tokyo Godfathers, which was written by Nico Nobumoto, who also recently died, unfortunately. And she was the one who wrote Cowboy Bebop. So she's also a fantastic anime writer. And Tokyo Godfathers is a Christmas movie about 3 homeless people who find a baby in the garbage and then trying to like figure out what to do with this baby. And it's an anime, and it's an unbelievable film. So this Christmas, I highly recommend you guys seek out Tokyo Godfathers. It's a really good one.
Holy smokes! Yeah, that sounds awesome. Thanks for the education on Satoshi Kon. It sounds really, really like an awesome creator, and that's unfortunate that gone so soon.
Yeah, him and Nobumoto, they both died of cancer, unfortunately. That's just the way it goes, right? But yeah, I highly recommend looking for Perfect Blue and Paprika, both really great movies. Yes, he's pretty influential, I think, on a lot of people, and just kind of the things you could do. So then with like After Effects and Nuke and these kind of compositing programs that have since come out and become popular, all these kind of crazy things. So like, I don't want to say that Edgar Wright's weird, fast, crazy transition style is 100% Satoshi Kon, but it's got to be a little bit Satoshi Kon. And obviously, his quick editing style is like influenced by Sam Raimi and the Coen brothers. That's pretty clear as well. But I mean, Edgar Wright's his own fucking guy. And I love his style, and I love the guys that he's influenced by, right? And I do think that Kon is a big influence, especially with Last Night in Soho, because Last Night in Soho deals with a lot of those themes. I'm not going to reveal too much about that since you guys haven't seen it, but I do think that that movie owes a lot to the films of Satoshi Kon. And I was watching his stuff, like Perfect Blue, I'd finally seen for the first time like last year, and that kind of led me on this path too. Like, man, I want to do something that has some Satoshi Kon style transitions and the idea of blurring the lines between reality and fantasy. So it's not like a strict rip-off of Satoshi Kon's style, but there's some of that in there, because I've also always been wanting to make kind of an absurd or surrealist movie like in the David Lynch style, because I'm a big David Lynch fan as well. But that's another guy, like, if you're just ripping off his style, you just seem like some fucking pretentious hack who's trying to be David Lynch. Like, okay, so there's the tricky path there. So now I think, not that this is going to be some brilliant fucking surrealist. No, it is. This is going to be some brilliant piece of surrealist art, and there's a lot of influences there. So I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah. I mean, art's iterative, unless you're like finding a cave somewhere and just like painting in blood or something. Like, you know, you're just following everyone else.
Oh, of course, yeah. And I don't want the influences to be so obvious. Like, I don't think someone's going to watch this and say, "Oh, that's Paprika." It's like, oh no, it's not at all, and it's not Eraserhead either. It's just some weird fucking thing that I came up with. But I love those other things. Scott Pilgrim too. Scott Pilgrim's ahead of its time. Look at the amount of effects work in this in that movie, right? I mean, it's every fucking shot has multiple effects going on, things popping on this fucking screen, things in the background. I mean, it's just nonstop. And that movie has so much energy. Nobody's caught up to that yet. Nobody's made a movie remotely anything like fucking Scott Pilgrim. It's been over 10 years. And I don't even think people have appreciated that film for what it is yet. So that's a fucking guy who's a fucking pioneer.
And then I think on top of that, because it's an adaptation of like something that would be very difficult, like even just conceptualizing and saying like, oh, I'm going to adapt this to the screen, this Scott Pilgrim story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not
the level of style. How far do you go, right? Yeah. Do you do it, rip it straight from the fucking book like he did? Or do you make it like grounded in reality, but with like these kung fu fights? Like, yeah, how could you even begin to think about it? Somebody brought him that fucking book. There were like 2 volumes out at the time, and they were like, here, you should make this. And he's like, all right, I'll check it out. And he fucking checked it out, and it's like, holy shit. Yeah, I think I should make that. And he did, and it was great. Do you guys like the video game too, the Scott Pilgrim video game?
It was recently like, because it was one of those dead games. You could not find it. It was on no storefronts for quite some time. I played it when it came out originally and really enjoyed it. I'm a big fan of beat 'em ups and everything else. I don't think you've ever gotten a chance to check it out, right, Kayla?
No, I haven't.
We had a plan with the re-release to check it out, and I think I even like downloaded it and haven't gotten around to it. But yeah,
basically River City Ransom. Yeah, it's very fun. Great game.
Yeah.
And they're doing an anime. They're doing an anime adaptation for Netflix now from the books. So that should be amazing, because everything Scott Pilgrim so far has been great. But back to microdosing.
Yeah, there you go. King of the segue. Yeah. The shared universe with Porker and Roundy, you kind of hinted at it a little bit. I was excited to read that. How much can you tell us about what that's going to be?
Oh, I'll tell you everything. So basically, within the universe of microdosing, Porker and Roundy is a cartoon that exists, not made by Patrick Adam Pena, but made by Max Duberman, the fake character who's like an alien. You're familiar with him. So, and this is just a cartoon that the Ignacio character watches. So basically, I written a movie that I was going to make right before the pandemic started called You're a Weird Fucking Guy, Ignacio, and it was kind of like a hangout movie about this guy who just like turning 30, doesn't know what the fuck he's going to do with his life, all this kind of shit. So I didn't get to make that movie because the pandemic happened, but I took those characters and they populate this movie. So I think like that movie happened. Now later in their life, now this is going on, right? So the Ignacio character watches this shit. So think of it as Family Guy or South Park, right? Or Rick and Morty even. Something that the fan base likes, thinks is really fucking funny and thinks is really smart, but people who don't watch it think is a crude, stupid piece of shit, right? So that's Pork and Roundy within the universe. Is the Ignacio character likes it, his brother thinks it's this dumb show about farts, and that's that. But like I like the idea of having it makes movies feel more lived in when there's like a wider universe within the film, right? Like this thing exists. He wears a Pork and Roundy t-shirt, and fucking other people recognize it and quote it on the street, and they talk about it. And then also this works, since it's like a reality thing, like a reality bending shit and all this kind of stuff, he could also get sucked into the cartoon, and you can do things like that, which will happen. So,
okay, I was gonna ask, like, are you gonna create some new versions of Pork and Roundy, some new art, some new episodes or something? And it seems like maybe that'll be part of microdosing.
Yeah, there will be new. Yes, there'll be new. I haven't decided if all the clips within the film will be new or if I'll use a couple of the jokes. But there will be, since they're so short, he watches TV a few times throughout the movie, and you'll see these little Pork and Roundy clips. And then, yeah, he will at some point enter the Pork and Roundy universe.
Awesome. That's super fun. I mean, anytime, like you said, just world building. Like, if something feels like it's in a universe all to itself, it just adds some, I don't know, credibility. I don't know what it is. Depth, yeah, realism.
Yeah, absolutely,
even in a
absolutely,
surreal
all
thing,
those
like,
things.
yeah.
Yeah, it grounds things, and that's like there's a couple different ways to do that in film, and that's one way. World building makes this something feel more lived in, and then kind of another subtle way too. This is just a little tip to any guys out there, because that's on the Indiegogo. One of the perks for $50 is like behind the scenes updates. So basically, every week I'm gonna do a little vlog where I tell you what's going on, this kind of stuff. But I'm also going to be giving you tips on how to make a movie and what you would do in this situation, especially for no money and this kind of stuff. So yeah, that kind of world building is good. And then other times, just like another little tip, like sitting in a scene with somebody doing something that's kind of mundane, right? Like you want a movie to move along. You don't want to have a bunch of superfluous scenes that don't like lead anywhere. But if you could just sit and watch somebody do something that's part of their daily routine, like you could immediately identify with somebody, like watching them the way they make their coffee or something, or let them eat breakfast. Instead of cutting away from that, give it 45 seconds. Like give us a fucking, which feels like a long time, and it is a long time. But sit there just for a fucking minute with people doing something normal. You're gonna connect with those characters. Don't know why, but that's a fucking thing. So like, always keep that in mind. And like, so, and but that's part of it. It's the same thing. Whatever draws you into the world. If you're observing, like this is real. What I'm watching is just like people doing their thing, not a camera and a fucking costumes and sets and having to hit your marks and remember lines and shit like that and cut together from 2 different days. It's not that at all. It's real. It's happening right now.
Makes it realistic. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were just having a conversation on the pod about post-apocalyptic stories and kind of our favorite ones, and we kind of came to the conclusion that the ones where they build their own economies, society, and you just like you get little hints of those type of things where it's its own thing. It's not just, oh yeah, what happened if America fell into a post-apocalypse and everything's exactly the same but bad, you know?
Right, yeah.
So
they took the time to figure out what happened, so you know there's a history there. You understand it, even if you don't see it. I think Mad Max is one of the Fury Road is one of the best examples of that, where they don't tell you anything. Some people watch that movie and say, "Oh, there's no story. It's stupid. It's a piece of crap." I'm like, "What the fuck movie are you watching?" The world, the richness and depth of the fucking world in that movie is like so masterfully done that if you can't see that and appreciate that, then I don't know, you watch movies in a different way than I do, I guess.
Yep, Guzzolene and the Bullet Farm. You know, those were
Well, yeah. What is this?
Is
like all that kind of stuff, man. The War Boys and the fucking blood transfusions, and they worship a V8 engine. I mean, all the crazy shit.
Layers.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's just fun. It's so cool. Yeah, and that goes a long way. But that's taste too, because I can watch a movie for atmosphere and tone sometimes, right? But that doesn't mean you're going to watch any movie that has no story and is supposed to be going for atmosphere. It doesn't mean they nailed it. It's like, oh, it's atmospheric. But, like, I don't need a fucking plot or a story. I like character-driven movies, hangout movies, like Jackie Brown, like Dazed and Confused. One of the other influences I say is Richard Linklater, and not necessarily that he's like this huge influence on me, but he makes these movies of people talking and people hanging out and being themselves, like the Before trilogy or the After, whatever, the Sunset trilogy, right? I like that kind of stuff. I write that way. I write conversational dialogue. So I want people to kind of know that when you look at that, say, what the fuck does that have to do with this? I'm not talking about like A Scanner Darkly. I'm talking about fucking Dazed and Confused. I'm talking about people talking like they're real people living normal lives. And then when the things start to get not normal, maybe you're more drawn into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned microdosing's essentially like a one-man show, right? You're just kind of doing everything. Is there just the one character then, Ignacio, or are you gonna integrate, some other?
No, so
characters?
he has his brother. He hangs out with his brother, and he has a therapist that he talks to, and he's got his friend that he kind of texts online. There's like maybe one or two other characters come in the movie, so it shouldn't feel super. I mean, it's still a small movie. It's going to be, mostly one location, but a couple other ones. Mostly one character, but a couple other characters. So, if you think about, like, just as an example, a weird example, like, Beetlejuice, Michael Keaton worked on that movie for 4 days. But, like, he's in the whole movie, right? So, like, in the same sense, like, the therapist will feel like she's in the movie a lot more than she really is. And the brother will feel like he's in the movie more than he is. So it's not going to feel like it's one guy. But it's one-man show in that we're talking 5 cast members and, like, 3 crew members. And then I'm doing the practical effects, the visual effects, the everything essentially. That's because I'm not going to have the money to do a straight shoot. Like I have some friends that I could bring up and like get a small crew together if I had 15 days to shoot a movie straight, but I'm not going to have that time, money, or luxury. It's going to be something that I work on throughout the year. So it's like, hey, you're shooting these sequences at a time, like they're each short films on their own, essentially. It's like, all right, going to get all this location done, or I'm going to get this sequence done this weekend. You start working on that. All right, 2 weeks from now, plan on the next one. Kind of break it down and make it manageable.
Awesome. Well, seeing as we're talking about like practical aspects of it, I've mentioned there's an Indiegogo campaign started now for microdosing, and I think you recently just posted that you reached over 50% of the goal. Is that right? Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. The Machine of Nonsense has contributed, and we'll do everything we can to share it. But I guess if you could let people know what they can do to contribute, anything you want to say about that.
So check out the Indiegogo. There's a few perks on there. I mentioned the $50 perk with the behind-the-scenes updates. At the very bottom, you get a high-res motion poster, which is kind of like the image you see with all the banners here of like Ignacio's face. You'll get a download of the movie. Then beyond that, there's props in the movie. There's original Porker and Roundy drawings, and all these various things you can get from the movie. Otherwise, sharing, or hey, look, if somebody wants to work on the film, if you're available to do things, you're a cinematographer, you're a visual effects artist, or somebody who does want to work on the film, reach out to me, or composers or something like that. I'm always open to working with more people. It's just that, look, this is a small movie. I don't want this to balloon into something that if I wanted to get a bunch of people together to make a larger movie, that's what I would be attempting to do. But this is more or less to not only refine a lot of the skills that I already have and kind of develop some of them onto a real project instead of just sitting around doing fucking nothing. Then it's also to attract people in the Pacific Northwest. Like, hey, I'm a guy who makes movies up here. So the next film can be a little bit bigger. I can get a little bit bigger production. I can pay people to work on it. I can rent some gear and do something a little. Not that this is going to be some piece of crap. I mean, this is going to look well beyond the $3,000 I'm trying to make it for. But I also don't expect this to be, get a nationwide release. This is the kind of movie that these are the films that you make and submit to small festivals or get out there. Then somebody sees that and is like, well, I'm not going to buy that movie, but I'll pay him to make something else, right? So worst case scenario here is people around here know that I can do visual effects. They know I can do practical effects. They know I can do model building, and that I can go work on somebody else's low budget movies. But I'm just trying to make art for the sake of it in a lot of ways when it really comes down to it. Like, this is where I want my train. Sorry. This is what I want the career to be So ultimately, that is the goal is for it to be a career. But you start off like, okay, I have several other movies. I have a couple larger movies that I've written, and there's one that I even started to consider shooting called The Bogman, which is this kind of paranormal movie, which would be very small and doable, but would need a little bit more money. I'm like, I want to make something. I want to make something, because if I keep on trying to do something that won't get made, then I'll keep on fucking not making things. But if you make a fucking movie, then more people will come on, then more money will be attracted, and then you can make the larger thing with much lower risk of it failing. So I want to make a movie that's not going to fail. I'm going to make a movie that's 100% going to get made. If I didn't get $3,000 from people, what should you think about that? At the end of the day, that's not that much money. It's going towards a couple of things that are integral for the movie. Well, I would just have to spend my own fucking $3,000 to make that happen. The more money it gets, the better it's going to be. But at the end of the day, it's going to be half dialogue and half fucking digital and practical effects. So I know I can make the fucking puppets. I know I can make the miniatures and those things. And I know I can do the visual effects. They'll take me some time. But that's fucking me. I'm relying on me to do those things. So this movie will get made one way or another, and I'm happy about that. So all right, I'm gonna make a fucking feature-length movie, or a pretty damn close to feature-length. If I don't have enough money, this could end up being like a 40, 50-minute movie, like end up being a 40, 50-minute movie. But I'm aiming for more of like an 80, 90-minute film here.
Excellent. Yeah, I was gonna ask.
I mean, the only way to do it is to do it. Like, if this is skills that you want to hone in on, and you want to put out there a network, I mean, you just got to do it. Exactly.
That's exactly what it is, because I can sit and tell these people I can do these things, or I can do little test shots and shit at home, but it's like, well, this is a fucking reel. I'm making my own reel for myself, and in the end, I'm making a fun movie, because there's things I want to say, too. It's not just like, it's bred from that, right? It's bred from wanting to make a fucking puppet movie. It's bred from wanting to practice my After Effects skills. It's bred from wanting to fucking act. It's bred from wanting people to hear my fucking dialogue. It's bred from those things. But then it's also bred from my fucking societal anxieties, my personal anxieties. So the story and the things that I'm saying, they're real too. They're attached to what I wanted to fucking make, but I wouldn't be doing if I didn't have a real story, it wouldn't be happening. I mean, we want to get into the fucking bizarre shit that I've been reading to fucking influence the movie. We can go on that path too, because like it's a movie, because it's like a surrealist movie. It starts off so normal, but then by the end, hopefully, different viewers have a completely different interpretation of what actually happened by the end of the movie. It's like almost incomprehensible by the end of the fucking movie. Like, did you guys see Annihilation?
Oh yeah,
yes,
yeah. So I don't want to compare it to that, but like, in a similar feeling where, I don't know, like, it's hard to do stuff like that. That's like, I don't know if that'd be considered cosmic horror, but like, to represent the unexplainable, or represent feelings that cannot be seen or described, to be able to create those kind of things that's like a valiant attempt. That's like one of the last bastions of film, one of the last kind of feelings to create. And I think that's kind of an attempt here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, art's therapy too. You know, like you said, you just got it inside, and you gotta let it out. So
So if nobody sees it at the end of the day, but yes, that's exactly what it is. You create these pieces because, like, oh shit, if you don't, probably you won't feel real good. Basically, is how it happens.
Eloquent, just amazing.
Oh yes, yes. You know, I'm a man of many words. Some come out good.
Oh, good stuff. So we're gonna put a link to the Indiegogo in the show notes. We're gonna share it everywhere we have our social media. But where else can they find? You know, if anyone wants to reach out to you, looking for updates, anything like that, where should they go?
So they can email me directly at microdosingmovie@gmail.com. They can go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/LuchaStyle Productions, LuchaStyle Productions, and then the YouTube page, youtube.com/LuchaStyle. Those are the basic places to find me. And then Instagram, LuchaStyle Now. I'm on Twitter, but I don't really use it, so I don't recommend that. I don't have much of a following. That's the thing. Like, that's the other problem. You could try to make a larger movie, but if you don't have a following, you're not going to get anybody to contribute fucking money. This is for my 30 friends. Like, hey, dude, if you got $50, that's the point of this, right? So that's why it's a flexible.
The grind. That's the grind. You gotta just keep doing it, keep putting it out there, and that's how you spread.
Because the next one, here's another one. Here's a great influential movie. If they want to go out there and make a fucking movie. There's a movie called The Battery. $6,000 zombie movie made by these two guys. They went to 10 of their friends and were like, dude, would you lend me $600? So 10 of their friends, $600. And really think of it that way. It's like, okay, that might be doable, something like that. They got $6,000. Looks really good. It's a fantastic low-budget zombie movie. There's very little zombies in it. And that's always kind of sometimes the best zombie films, right? Mm-hmm. Fantastic movie. And that was very inspirational to me. Anytime I see somebody go out there and just fucking do it, they're like, there's no excuse, just do it. I'm like, why am I so fucking old and why am I not doing it? So that's really motivates me. The other people who just don't have the fucking, because there are no excuses now. You're always going to not have something. Somebody else is always going to have something fucking more than you, but you have enough. So, no excuse.
Cheers to that, man. Cheers to that. It just, you get inside your own head and you know, you sabotage yourself. But so happy to hear that, you know, you said it. You're going to make it no matter what. And
absolutely.
You know, anything we could do, anything that you guys out there, listeners of the Machine of Nonsense, can do. There's a bunch of different tiers on the Indiegogo. You know, with some really cool rewards. So go ahead and contribute a little bit to some independent art. You know, you're not gonna, whatever the amount is that you feel comfortable, you know, just, hey, drink a couple less coffees, you know, right?
Sure, absolutely.
So as far as like your goals, your production timeline, when you want to get this all going, I'm sure you're, you know, working on it on a constant basis, but do you have like a where you're a timeline goal of like, man, if I could get this done and out there by X, like here's where it is?
Yeah, I would say to kind of use video game terminology, Q1 2023 would be preferable sometime. Like when I break it down, I think of it as the majority of my non-effects shots can be done in about a 2-week period, and then the effect shots each are about a weekend, and there's maybe about 10 of those sequences. So I could be done shooting it by the end of the summer, and ideally spend the rest of the cold months editing and finishing it up, and having a version done by the end of the year, I think, is not out of the realm of possibility. So
Excellent.
then the first quarter of 2023 to kind of have it out there, either to put it in. Because my goal last time when I was going to make the Ignacio movie, there is one film festival I want to submit to. There's only one film festival that I think these are the people. Oh, my cat was snoring. This is the place where I think I'd get recognized. It's Slam Dance. Slam Dance is a kind of big but small festival outside of Sundance, which is for kind of little stranger films usually. But I mean, notable people have come from there. Like Nolan's first movie was there, and that's where he got discovered and stuff like that. So I think that making something a little more rough around the edges, a little more outsider style, that's what they look for there. The tiny festivals, I'm not interested in running those fucking, I don't want to call them scams, but, you know, I'm not interested in submitting $50 to people to get some bullshit accolade that's not going to get me anywhere. But Slam Dance, I'm interested in submitting at that. And that's usually end of the year, beginning of the year. So if I can make their deadline for like a rough version of the movie, that would be the ultimate goal. Otherwise, it's just for the people, right? Like I'll submit it out there, but this movie, once it's done. I would just try to get as many eyes on it as I can.
Excellent. Well, here's to Slam Dance then.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. So I know you're usually a little scattershot with your projects. You like to work on a lot of things all at the same time. Do you foresee you still doing that, or are you trying to more so focus on microdosing as like, man, I'm going to pour everything into this project?
Yeah, I absolutely want to focus on this. That's the thing, because you're right. It's so easy for me to get distracted by the new shiny toy that comes into my fucking brain. Oh, I could do that, I could do that. Horrible idea. So one of the great things with this is that because I'm using so many different mediums, there's going to be a stop motion sequence. There's these puppets that I have to make, some things like at the level I've never done it before. So there's always going to be something new for me to be doing, and that's what keeps me going, is learning new skills and kind of trying new things. So that's what's going to be fun there. So it's not going to happen. There is one other, like, just for when I get maybe blocked or something, there is like a minor side project that I'm doing that, like, I could tell you what it is, but there's basically, I have like a secret YouTube channel that I'm uploading paranormal stuff to. And that's all there is to that. So I'm kind of making these weird projects that are unrelated to anything, really. Just like, I just remember when I was young, and like with LimeWire, and you download videos, and they're just like titles. You don't even know what these things are you're downloading. And UFO videos and ghost videos, things that I don't believe in, but like, it's so fun discovering things like you think you're not supposed to be watching. So I kind of have like a YouTube channel out there that I'm making videos that I hope feel that way. There's a lot of people who do these things. This is not something I expect to be successful, but it is potentially it's going to be like a 3-year running viral marketing for a movie I plan to do in the future. So it's kind of like a weird side project that nobody knows about or cares. Like, nobody would, like, doesn't matter. So like, that's where, if I have a random idea, I can throw it onto that and do kind of weird, out of the box, silly things with that. But otherwise, microdosing is my primary focus.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Have like a little release valve.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of dig that. I might need something like that myself.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. I mean, I guess congratulations on just even getting the campaign off the ground, getting your ideas out there. We're fully excited to support the project, and here, we're in one of the behind the scenes tiers, so we're looking forward to seeing what that is, what that creative process looks like. Is there anything else that you want to mention about microdosing or Porker and Roundy, or really literally anything before we get out of here?
No, I just want to say that anybody who it's weird now. There's Patreon, and everything's subscription based, like everything in life, really. If you really wanted to, you can get a new wardrobe every 3 months. You can get your food delivered. Like, you can put everything just on a plan, and everything come to you. And like, we think about these things in these little micro transactions in a lot of ways, right? So you can get Netflix for $15 a month, and it might piss you off that it costs $15, but then other people will pay $15 for either an individual, like, sex worker on like OnlyFans, or an individual artist on Patreon, and these kind of things to follow. And I don't know, in these things, people find value wherever they find value in their own personal ways. So, but if you like the way that I talk, or you think about the ideas that I like, well, maybe $10 or $50, $100, whatever, is potentially worth the investment when you think about it that way. A lot of people want to get something, like, they want to buy a product, and it's like, well, I'm not really selling a product, I'm selling my ideas at the end of the day. So that's when you start following an artist, that's what it is. And you have to think of yourself that way. I don't want to be a celebrity or an influencer, but I am an artist. So the idea is, if you're thinking about supporting it, it's not, think about it even beyond just the project, or beyond what you get personally out of it. Or maybe you do get something personally, right? If my ideas are something that you think have value, then that's what you're letting them grow and get bigger. So we talk about independent art. I think it's important to think about these things that way, as opposed to in a commercial way.
And as a consumer, like, you wanna find your people. You wanna find the people that, make you're interested in their thoughts, and you're interested in the things that they're creating. Like that, as a consumer, that's exactly what I want. I want to find people that I like and follow them, and avoid the trash, avoid the stuff that's not my vibe. And there are different vibes.
These things are popular. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why these things have grown. Because you can do these things now. That's why Patreons exist and OnlyFans exists, and why people do become popular on social media, is because, yes, you can directly connect to the consumer, to the people who want to hear these things and want these things. So that's the attempt, I guess. At the end of this, maybe I can start building a small community from this film. So then you kind of launch a Patreon from there. Not that people are going to pay to support me, but some people will pay a little bit every once in a while because they think that there is some value in that. And maybe I will be able to provide that value to people. And I think that's like the other goal of this as well. Hey, maybe I can be maybe I am one of those people. So let's just see if I can find my people and the people that, like you said, vibe with me and want that from me.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Monstars, you've heard it here. Join the microdosing lucha style community in the same way that you have really given us some great support as well. So anyone out there who likes listening to this podcast, go ahead and check out Patrick's other stuff if you haven't already. Like I said, we've shared a lot of the Porker and Roundy stuff. We've shared the Indiegogo. Go ahead and check out Lucha Style on social media, on YouTube, on Facebook. Patrick's got a lot of cool stuff out there, and we're sure that microdosing is going to be just another one to be following. So that is just about a wrap on episode 66 of The Machine of Nonsense. We talked to Patrick Pena about his new project, Microdosing, an independent horror movie. We talked about Porker and Roundy. We talked about his Indiegogo. Go ahead and support Microdosing. It's going to be awesome. If you want to support us, go ahead and join Monstars, our Facebook fan community. Go ahead and check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'd love you to join Monstars or contribute to one of our polls there. If you'd like to hear your voice on this podcast, go ahead and leave us a voicemail at anchor.fm/machine of nonsense. I will put it into this podcast. Tell us a joke, ask us a question. I was your host, Eric, joined by Kayla and special guest Patrick Pena. We're getting out of here and we're saying goodbye.
Bye.
See ya.